For nearly 6 years, Robert Hayes had lived a quiet life, managing a few rental properties on the outskirts of Fresno, California. He wasn't rich, but he took pride in maintaining his buildings, repainting the walls himself, mowing the lawns, fixing leaky sinks, before tenants could even complain. His tenants liked him. Until the spring of 2022, when one woman, Samantha Lee, moved in. At first, she seemed like any other tenant. Single mother, 2 jobs, always polite. She paid the security deposit in cash and promised to keep the place spotless. For the first 3 months, she paid on time. Then, one April morning, Robert checked his account. No payment. He called. She apologized. Yes. Sorry, Mr. Hayes. Work cut my hours. I'd settle have it by next Friday. Friday came and went. No payment. 1 month turned into 2. Robert grew frustrated. He'd heard every excuse before, but something about her tone, too calm, too confident, made him uneasy. She didn't sound desperate. She sounded certain that nothing would happen to her. He began documenting everything. Texts, voicemails, photos of the property. He prided himself on doing things by the book. On May 10th, he posted a 3-day notice to pay or quit, exactly as required, under California's Code of Civil Procedure, Section 1161. He took a picture of it taped to her door, time-stamped and dated. But Samantha didn't flinch. The next day, the notice was gone, and a handwritten letter sat in his mailbox. Dear Mr. Hayes, I'm not refusing to pay. I shouldn't disputing the charges. The plumbing has been leaking for months. Until you fix it, California law allows me to withhold rent. Sincerely, Samantha Lee. Robert Sepp's jaw tightened. He had no record of any plumbing complaints. He drove straight to the house and knocked on the door. Samantha opened it, arms crossed. You can sit, just stop paying rent, he said. She pointed toward the kitchen sink. A slow drip echoed into the silence. There. And the mold under the cabinet? It's making my son sick. He crouched, pulled the cabinet door open, and froze. The wood was swollen, blackened. Mold crept up the corners, like ink on paper. He realized she was right. But still, she hadn't yet reported it properly. And by law, he should have been given notice and reasonable time to repair it before she withheld payment. The line between who was right and who was wrong suddenly blurred. Back in his truck, Robert muttered, "If she wants a fight, she'll get one." He called a handyman, who confirmed the mold and estimated 2 weeks for full remediation. But Robert didn't want to wait. He wanted her gone. So he did something he'd regret for the rest of his life. That night, he shut off the property's water main. Just for a day, he told himself. Maybe she sepped panic and leave voluntarily. The next morning, Samantha stood in the driveway recording him with her phone. You just violated California Civil Code Section 789. 3, she said calmly. He frowned. What are you talking about? It's illegal for a landlord to shut off water, electricity or heat to force a tenant out. You just committed self-help eviction. Robert scoffed and walked away, but his stomach twisted. She wasn't bluffing. She knew the law. Within 48 hours, he received an email from the local tenant rights legal clinic demanding that he restore utilities immediately or face civil penalties of up to $100 per day plus damages. Furious, he turned the water back on. Then, fueled by pride and anger, he filed an unlawful detainer lawsuit, the legal eviction process in California. He believed it was straightforward. Tenant doesn't pay, landlord evicts. But he was about to learn that the legal system doesn't always reward the loudest complaint. It rewards the one who follows every rule. 2 weeks later, the case was accepted by the Fresno County Superior Court. The first hearing was scheduled for July 6th. By the time that date arrived, Samantha had done her homework. She had filed her own cross-complaint, claiming retaliatory eviction and violation of habitability laws. She included photos of the mold, medical notes about her son's persistent cough, and the letter Robert had ignored. Robert walked into the courthouse, certain that the judge would see him as the victim, the small landlord dealing with a difficult tenant. But the judge, a stern woman named Honorable Maria Delgado, had seen this movie before. When court began, Samantha sat quietly beside her tenant rights attorney. Robert represented himself. "Your Honor," he began, "I followed the process. I gave notice. I filed correctly. She hasn't paid rent for 3 months." Samantha's attorney stood. "With respect, Your Honor, my client withheld rent lawfully under California Civil Code Section 1942. The landlord failed to repair dangerous mold and shut off her water, a clear violation of tenant protection statutes. We're asking not only that the eviction be dismissed, but that damages be awarded for the illegal utility shutoff and emotional distress." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Hayes, did you turn off the water?" "Yes, but only for a day." That's enough," the judge interrupted. "That act alone constitutes an illegal eviction attempt. The law is explicit." A murmur spread through the courtroom. Robert Sepp's throat went dry. The hearing continued with evidence. Samantha's attorney showed photos of the mold and maintenance reports. The handyman, subpoenaed by both sides, confirmed under oath that he had warned Robert the mold could be hazardous. Each revelation tightened the noose around Robert's defense. By the end of the day, Judge Delgado sighed. "I said I'm taking this under advisement," she said. "We settle reconvene in 2 weeks." As the courtroom emptied, Samantha passed by Robert and whispered, "I didn't want this. You pushed me here." For the first time, he didn't have a comeback. Outside, cameras waited. Local news outlets had already picked up the story. Landlord accused of shutting off water to force tenant out. Robert realized that even if he won, his reputation had already lost. And deep down, he wasn't sure he would win. 2 weeks later, the summer heat pressed over Fresno like a weight. The courthouse steps shimmered in the midday sun as Robert climbed them, a folder clutched tightly in his hand. Inside were bank statements, printed text messages, and copies of rent ledgers, his attempt to prove that Samantha Lee was nothing more than a freeloader, playing the system. Inside courtroom 4B, the air conditioner hummed softly, unable to drown out the low chatter of reporters and spectators. Local TV stations had labeled the case the Fresno Landlord Showdown. It had become more than a dispute between two people. It was now a symbol of a larger war between small landlords and struggling tenants in post-pandemic California. Judge Delgado entered promptly. At 9 o'clock Miss A. Yeah, her black robe flowing behind her as she took her seat. The room fell silent. "Let's proceed," she said, her tone calm but firm. "Mr. Hayes, you may present your case." Robert rose, heart hammering. "Your Honor," he began, "I am a fair man. I've rented to dozens of families, never had an issue. Miss Lee stopped paying rent for 3 months, claiming there was mold. But she never reported it properly. She used it as an excuse to stay rent-free. I followed every legal step. I served notice. I filed this case the right way. He handed copies of his documents to the clerk. This is my ledger showing missed payments. This is a photo of the notice I posted on May 10th. The judge nodded. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Miss Lee, your response. Samantha's attorney, Carlos Vega, stood calmly. He carried only one folder, thin, organized, precise. Your Honor, the evidence will show that my client did report the issue. She texted Mr. Hayes 3 times about the leak before withholding rent. She acted under her rights, according to California Civil Code Section 1942, which allows tenants to withhold rent when a landlord fails to maintain habitable conditions. He paused, then looked directly at Robert. And when my client refused to leave Mr. Hayes shut off her water, a direct violation of Civil Code Section 789. 3, which prohibits landlords from interrupting utilities to force tenants out. The law calls this constructive eviction and imposes fines of up to $100 per day, plus actual damages. A soft wave of murmurs swept the courtroom. The judge turned to Robert. Mr. Hayes, did you receive text messages about the leak? Maybe. I get a lot of texts. Carlos Vega stepped forward, handing the clerk a stack of printed screenshots. Exhibit D. Your Honor. Timestamps of messages sent in March and April. The tenant reported the leak and mold twice, before rent was due. The judge studied them for a long moment. Then she looked back at Robert. Ignoring maintenance requests, then cutting off utilities, is not how we resolve disputes. Robert swallowed hard. I fixed it as soon as I could. Samantha Sepp's attorney didn't miss a beat. After she contacted the legal clinic. Your Honor. The judge set the papers down. Let's hear from the witness. The handyman, Miguel Alvarez, was sworn in. He looked nervous, but honest. I saw the mold, he said. It was bad. I told Mr. Hayes it could make someone sick, if not fixed. He said deal with it later. Did he ask you to shut off the water? Vega asked. Miguel shook his head. No. I think he did that himself. Robert rubbed his temples. Every statement chipped away at his credibility. He could feel the balance of the case tipping out of his hands. After the witness testimony, the judge turned back to the attorneys. Closing statements. Vega spoke first. His voice was calm, almost gentle. Your Honor, my client is not a con artist or a professional tenant. She's a working mother who followed the law. The landlord, frustrated by delays, decided to take matters into his own hands. The law exists precisely to prevent that, to ensure that people are not left without water or shelter, because someone lost their patience. He stepped back. We're asking the court to dismiss the eviction, order repairs, and award statutory penalties for the unlawful shutoff, plus damages for emotional distress. Robert Sipp's turn came next. He stood, voice shaking with a mix of anger and exhaustion. She's making me look like a monster. I just wanted my rent. I was under pressure. 2 mortgages, rising taxes, everything going up. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I fixed the leak, didn't I? I turned the water back on. The judge listened without emotion, pen poised over her notes. When he finished, she spoke quietly. The court has heard enough. The room held its breath. California law is explicit, Judge Delgado began. A landlord cannot retaliate, cannot neglect habitability, and cannot shut off utilities to force a tenant out. The evidence demonstrates clear violations of these principles. She glanced at Robert, then continued. Therefore, the court dismisses the eviction. Furthermore, under Civil Code, Section 789, 3. The court awards Miss Lee statutory damages of $7,500, representing 75 days of partial interruption of essential services and additional compensation for distress. Gasps filled the courtroom. Robert felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath him. But the judge wasn't finished. Additionally, she said, the court orders Mr. Hayes to complete professional mold remediation within 10 days and to submit proof of compliance to the housing department. Failure to do so will result in further penalties. Robert Sepp's shoulders slumped. His voice broke. Your Honor, I was just... Case closed. Samantha exhaled, tears slipping down her cheeks. Her attorney placed a reassuring hand on her arm. The reporters outside could already be heard shouting through the hallway doors. Robert remained seated long after everyone left. The courtroom emptied, but he didn't move. The words echoed in his head. Case closed. Outside, Samantha faced the cameras. She didn't look triumphant. She looked tired, but dignified. I didn't want to fight my landlord, she told a reporter. I just wanted a safe place for my son to live. Everyone deserves that. Meanwhile, Robert walked to his truck, staring at the courthouse pillars rising behind him. He felt stripped of everything: his pride, his money, his image of being a good guy. He had thought the law was on his side. Now he realized that the law doesn't take sides. It follows facts. That evening, alone in his garage, he reread the judgment papers. The phrase constructive eviction glared up at him. He thought it was just a technical term, but now he understood what it really meant, that by cutting off water, even for a day, he had made the home unlivable. And in doing so, he had broken more than a rule. He had broken trust. He sat there for hours, thinking about how a single angry decision had rewritten his life. The story didn't end in that courtroom. Robert spent months repairing not only the property, but also his reputation. He attended local housing law workshops to learn how to manage his rentals legally. Slowly, word spread that he was trying to make amends. Samantha, too, moved forward. After the judgment, she and her son relocated to a smaller but healthier apartment. She used part of the damages to cover medical bills and school supplies. The rest, she saved. For peace of mind, she told her attorney. Months later, an unexpected letter arrived in her mailbox. It was from Robert. Miss Lee, I wanted to say I'm sorry. You were right. I didn't understand the law, or the pressure you were under. I hope your son is doing well. Robert Hayes. She folded the letter carefully and placed it in a drawer. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder that justice doesn't always come from anger. Sometimes, it comes from understanding. This case, though fictionalized, mirrors real California landlord-tenant law. Under California Civil Code, Paragraph 3. A landlord who interrupts utilities such as water, heat, or electricity to force a tenant out commits an illegal eviction, punishable by daily fines and possible civil liability. Likewise, Civil Code Section 1942 gives tenants the right to withhold rent or make repairs themselves if a landlord fails to maintain habitability standards, including mold, leaks, or structural issues. But beyond statutes and penalties, the moral runs deeper. Power must always be balanced with responsibility. Landlords provide homes. Tenants provide trust. When either side breaks that trust, both lose something far greater than money. Because, as Robert learned, the law can punish a violation, but only conscience can repair the damage left behind.